Star Fox, a franchise that sadly doesn't have all that many games to its name, and an IP that Nintendo seems to have forgotten about. Over the years, there have been tons of missed opportunities of possible games that we could have gotten for Star Fox. This little bad boy is known as the Game Boy Advance. Now, I've already made a video discussing this, but the Game Boy Advance did miss out on a Star Fox game. Now, I did release a video called The Hidden Star Fox Advance on GBA. The video in question took a look at Star X, and for all intents and purposes, it is the closest we will ever have to an official Star Fox game on GBA hardware. But then that got me thinking, what if we did have a Star Fox Advance game? What if, in an alternative reality, that was something that we were able to have? And that's what this video is all about. Now, of course, we do have an example of a possible look at what Star Fox Advance could be like. Star X. Star X is a full 3D graphic game on the GBA. This game sees you going from level to level, taking on a boss at the very end, moving about to try and survive against this evil species that's trying to enslave your race. Another idea of what Star Fox Advance could look like is something a little more downgraded. Aerodon 3D. Aerodon 3D, as it is effectively another Star Fox-like game. However, instead of using full-blown 3D graphics, it uses this amazing engine to create the effect of 3D using pixel art. Now, the game as it stands is pretty tough, but it looks absolutely beautiful. And when it comes to Star Fox-like games and experiences, Aerodon 3D is right up there with Star X. Now, as it stands, we already have two pretty good bases of what Star Fox Advance could be like. We have Star X, which is a full 3D experience, and we have Aerodon 3D, which is about like a 2.5 3D experience. Both of these are great examples and great bases for what Star Fox Advance could have been. Now, funny enough, thanks to fans, we actually have a few mock-ups of both of these styles. The first one is done by Gustavo Valentin. If I pronounced that wrong, I apologize. This was a GBA Star Fox tech demo released about 2 years ago as of the recording of this video, and it shows this amazing pre-rendered tech demo with multiple models running at 60 frames a second. The fact seeing anything Star Fox related running on an actual engine built for the GBA is honestly insane, and it shows that there's a true possibility of having a game like this run on GBA. The second mockup that we have is done by somebody known as Ballad of the Windfishes. Ballad of the Windfishes created this really cute, tiny little piece that just kind of showed up a pretty light mock-up of what Star Fox could look like in a more 2.5 2D format style. Though personally, on the tiny screen of the GBA, I don't think all this information could be that easily seen, it's still a pretty cool mock-up nonetheless. And it does give us a little bit of a glimpse of the possibility of what Star Fox in this style could look like. That being said though, when it comes to Star Fox, one thing it does is always try to improve or add something new to give it its own identity. I mean, look at these things. They are unmistakable between the two. So what would Star Fox Advance have to its own name? Well, if it did release back in the day, I would have personally imagined that it would pull ideas from Star Fox 2 and add a few extra little additions here and there. One thing they could have done is pull an idea from Star Fox 2 and give you alternative pilots and ships to use. They could have done this awesome thing where at the very start of the game, right as you were about to start a run, you could actually choose a certain ship with a certain character that would have his own stats and abilities, whether it's based on speed, defense, or power. And then as you play through the game, maybe getting collectibles like maybe certain medals or getting high scores, you could unlock additional characters, maybe the Star Wolf team, or maybe some brand new exclusive characters to Star Fox Advance. Another thing Star Fox Advance could have is probably a mini game. Whether it's from trying to do an accuracy-like game to shooting as many enemies as possible, something really tiny that wouldn't pull that much from the GBA, but that would be a cool little time waster. Now, they could even maybe add a little training mode or an endless mode where they try and take out as many enemies as possible before they die. I mean, it would be pretty damn cool to have that. Star Fox Advance could also have secret levels, where maybe doing something very specific similar to Star Fox 1 and or Star Fox 64 could lead to a bonus or a secret level that the characters could go through, maybe gain some extra power-ups, extra one-ups, maybe even find a cool little secret boss. But one thing that Star Fox Advance is still missing that we haven't discussed yet is something that, though not all Star Fox games have in that great of spades, but they still have, is a story, as well as a new villain. Personally, in this alternative timeline, if Star Fox Advance ever released, I don't see Andros ever coming back. Or, if even fans decide to create Star Fox Advance someday, I don't see them ever reusing this villain. Star Fox Advance, to me, would feel like an opportunity to create and expand on a brand new villain, as well as expand just that little bit more on the Lilat system and the systems around Lilat. So, with the power of AI, I had it help me generate a story and a villain for our game, Star Fox Advance. And this is what it came up with, and this is only one of many possibilities that Star Fox Advance could have as far as story goes. The name of the villain is General Vexen. General Vexen is a high-ranking military officer from a neighboring star system who seeks to conquer the Lilat system and expand his empire. He is a master strategist and has a vast army of robotic soldiers at his command. Vexen is cold and calculating, with a ruthless personality that is only matched by his ambition. The Starfox team has to stop him because he poses a grave threat to the safety and freedom of the Lilac system. His robotic army has already conquered several planets on the outskirts of that system, and he's now set his sights on the main planets, including Corneria. Personally, that sounds fucking awesome. Now, another thing that General Vexen could do is do something that only Star Fox Assault ever did. You see, when it comes to a main villain in Star Fox, normally we only really see them at the beginning of a story and at the end of our adventure. We don't really have that much time where they really emphasize how much of a threat or how much of a nuisance they are. With General Vexen, he could be in direct control of every boss, and he can be in direct control of every enemy, meaning that this bad guy would be with us the entire adventure. We can learn to hate him. He could talk about how he wants to rule Lilat. We could see the destruction in the visual storytelling of each level. Though if we did 3D graphics, it might not be that well shown off. In 2.5D, we could definitely show some really cool set pieces showing the absolute destruction that General Vexen brings. The level progression could probably bring us to a few of the planets that General Vexen has actually taken over already. Probably towards the end of our adventure as we got closer to his main base. And by the end of it, once we finally did get to General Vexen and his main base of operations, we're gonna learn to hate this guy because he's been with us, taunting us, and causing us all these problems for all this time. Now, with all that being said, personally, I'm hyped as fuck for this concept. However, we're not quite done yet. With every game, with every story, and with every pre-release of any title, there comes a trailer. Now, as far as Star Fox Advance goes, what would this trailer be? Well, sit back, relax, and get some popcorn, because I'm about to tell you.
We need your help, Star Fox. You're the only hope for our world.
The Star Fox team is back, and they'll need to use all of their skills and firepower to stop Vexon's conquest. Join Fox, Falco, Peppy, and Slippy as they team up with new allies to take on Vexon and his army of robots. Fly through asteroid fields, explore new environments, and use your wits to outsmart Vexon's tactics. The fate of the Lilat system rests in your hands. Get ready to save the galaxy on April 13th, 2002.
And that is my entire concept from start to finish of Star Fox Advance. The game that never was, but it definitely could totally be. The groundwork is already there for us. We already have engines created that could totally host a Star Fox-like experience. The real question is if fans are truly passionate enough to create this entire little idea or project. Personally, I'm just an idiot on the internet, and though I'm wearing fox ears, I don't actually have the technical skill to do something like that. But that doesn't mean that somebody out there doesn't have those skills, and maybe one day we will see Star Fox Advance take shape. But with all that being said, what is your idea for Star Fox Advance? What would you like to see? A different villain? Different character concepts? Hell, maybe you would do an entirely different story. With all that being said, that does bring us to the end of this video. If y'all enjoyed this talk, please leave a like, subscribe, comments. Was always Evan amazing. Thank you for joining me with Star Fox Advance, and I will see you all in the next one. Without further ado, Jar6 signing out. Don't forget to rock and roll, and I'll see you next time. Later!